The deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history has happened. It happened last night at an outdoor country music festival on the Las Vegas Strip.
On October 1st, 2017, the Las Vegas massacre became the most devastating tragedy in modern American history. Based on a sample of 25 articles from the New York Times, this report examines the frames used by the media that was released following the event, between the dates October 2nd and October 3rd, 2017.
It was the closing act of the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. A crowd of around 22,000 people gathered to witness Jason Aldean perform. At 10:05 p.m., gunman Stephen Paddock released fire on the crowd from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
And as you know, at least 59 people are dead. Hundreds of people were wounded in what they say was the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history.
58 people were killed and 527 people were injured.
The gunfire sparked chaos in the crowd. Fans either scrambled for safety or laid low until the fire ceased after a long 9 minutes. When the police arrived on the scene, they raided the room of the gunman to find multiple suitcases, a total of 23 weapons, and Paddock's dead body. The United States was then sent into a period of mourning.
All around Las Vegas, Sunday was a day to remember the victims and support the survivors of the largest mass shooting in recent history.
As a result, many news articles were released to commemorate the lives that were lost, plead for gun control, or speculate about how the country should move forward. Among the sample of New York Times articles, 52% of them use human interest to appeal to their audiences. The appeal in using such a frame is to capture the human element of the story and connect the experiences of people involved to the reader to make them feel some sort of emotion.
I said to Sonny, we just need to get down. And he said, no, we can't get down because we'll get trampled. And that's when he just wrapped his arms around me from behind and we started running. And that's when I felt him get shot in the back and we fell to the ground.
This frame benefits both the audience and the publishers, as the human interest is what drives people's motivations for wanting to engage with a particular story. The general public gets to feel connected and involved in the world's current events, and the publishers in turn generate more traffic to their respective outlet. The human interest criteria within the article fits mostly into two categories: personal accounts of grievance and the humanization of Stephen Paddock. The first of the two categories, the theme of personal grievances, refers to when the media drew from a specific account of grieving. These accounts could either be a survivor telling of their traumatic experience or a mourner's description of a loved one that the shooting mercilessly took away from them.
These frames prompted the audience to think about the people who were directly affected by the massacre. The feelings of empathy that these frames aim to inspire cause their audience's reaction to intensify, regardless if that reaction is to strive for political action or to simply feel helpless sorrow.
Some of the articles under analysis included some insight to how Stephen Paddock was raised or what his life living in Mesquite, Nevada would be like. But the most alarming could be that humanizing the perpetrator of the crime could put more emphasis on the idea that the massacre was the fault of just one man, instead of the fault of this country's flawed policies.
The audience of such articles should be aware of the implications that these human interest frames can have on them. The empathy that human interest inspires pulls on their micro-level responses to news, cognitive and then behavioral. When these articles include such personal accounts, the news stories become more relatable, which affects the ways in which the audience member of the New York Times may react to the news of the shooting, as opposed to if they were more detached. The pull on these micro-level responses can influence whether the audience responds positively or negatively, or actively or passively.
And I don't want prayers. I don't want thoughts. I want gun control, and I hope to God nobody else sends me any more prayers.
For example, the stories that use accounts of personal grievance are more likely to inspire active, visceral responses from people. These are stories that inspire change towards common-sense gun reform. Meanwhile, the humanization of Stephen Paddock results in more of a helpless and passive response.
The notion of focusing on the who and not the why causes people to forget about some of the other factors that went to the deaths of so many. Overall, these frames are what produce what mind of society we live in and engage with on an everyday basis. Depending on how these frames affect a particular reader, it could alter our reality for better or for worse.